We're going to talk about a team who's got me genuinely worried as someone who covers the Big Ten. That's right. Illinois basketball is in the headlines once again, but not for the reasons their rabid fan bases would hope, right? You'd hope that there'd be a top tier transfer or somebody coming in and making a visit. No, it's that freshman center Morez Johnson Jr. and their junior wing Trey White have entered the transfer portal. Two key pieces from this year's roster gone in back-to-back days. You can add in Kerry Booth's earlier departure, but that one isn't really on the same level for me. He didn't really add all that much this season, and it kind of seemed like it was a little bit of a misevaluation by the staff, in my opinion. I don't know exactly, but from the outside looking in, that's what I would say. So the big question is Illinois basketball falling off? Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. First and foremost, let's talk about who's leaving. Morez Johnson, a 6'8", 6'9", however you want to call it, freshman. He's a homegrown star, Mr. Basketball in Illinois, a 3-year commit, a fan favorite from day one. He's a guy who you would hope would spend his entire career at Illinois instilling the culture, giving it his all day in and day out. And he did that a lot too. He averaged 7 points and 6.7 rebounds and 17.7 minutes with a ridiculous 17.2% offensive rebounding rate. That would have ranked top 7 nationally if he had played more minutes. He started 8 straight games before a wrist injury sidelined him, and even after returning, he was a consistent force. Then there's Trey White, a 6'7" junior wing who started 31 games, averaging 10.5 points and 5.5 rebounds. He wasn't really known as a shooter, but he heated up late, dropping in 41.1% from 3 and playing in scoring 14.3 points per game over their last 8 games. These aren't just role players, right? They are foundational pieces you build around going into next year. I'll be honest, I like Illinois. As a Big Ten fan, I know a lot of fans across the conference can't stand them. They got a massive and passionate fan base, and that rubs some of you the wrong way. I get it. I grew up an Ohio State fan, though, and they've got as many or more of those crazies as anybody else, so I've learned mostly how to ignore them. But for me, I've got no beef with the Illini. In fact, I kind of root for the Illini in some circumstances outside of just being a Big Ten show channel host. But they're a program with history, talent, and potential to be a Sweet 16 regular. That's why this stings the most. Last offseason, we talked about Illinois resetting their entire roster. Was that the right thing? Was that the wrong thing? They were bringing in guys like Ben Hummerkaus, Kylan Boswell, and Trey White to pair with freshmen like Will Riley, Kasparis Chakonis, and Morez Johnson. It worked. They went 22-13, beat Xavier in the NCAA tournament, and looked like they were building something. Now, here we are again watching another reset, not quite to the same extent, but a reset to some extent unfold. Johnson, White, Riley, and Chakonis, 4 of their top 6 or 7 contributors, you would say, are out the door at this point. It's concerning. After their second round loss to Kentucky, you could feel the fire in the team. I loved that press conference because it was fiery. It was wanting to win. It was wanting to get back to it afterward. And that gave me hope for this Illinois team. In fact, Trey White said it himself, quote, "I'm fiery right now. I feel like I can go play another game. I know we've got a good group of guys returning," end quote. Brad Underwood preached retention, saying, quote, "It's one of the challenges of getting older, having carryover in your program," end quote. But less than a week later, that vision is crumbling. We knew freshman stars like Kasparis Chakonis and Will Riley were likely NBA bound as projected first-round picks, so that's fine. We get that. It's the trouble of having good players. But suddenly, a roster that seemed poised for continuing their winning ways is looking like anyone can leave at any point in time. Let's talk about what that means, right? Because losing Morez Johnson hurts on multiple levels. He was a two-way rim presence, ferocious on the glass, rangy on defense. Fans loved his grit. Heck, I loved his grit. I loved watching the guy play. He had that climb the ladder block against Michigan State. I'll never get that out of my mind. That was a fantastic block, and it nearly blew the roof off of that game. But word is money played a big role here. The transfer portal and NIL, it's the wild, wild west right now. Illinois' Icon Collective couldn't lock him down despite having rumored of already having an agreed deal upon them. Some speculate he wanted a bigger offensive role, maybe just try and shoot more jumpers, even though his game's built on rebounding and toughness and not perimeter scoring. Trey's White exit is less surprising, but still critical, as it would be nice to have a core of him, Johnson, Boswell, and Avicic around to build on. But he's on his third school in 3 years and now chasing a fourth school in his fourth year. Still, he was a reliable veteran who fit a low usage two-way type of role. Losing both leaves massive holes in the front court and wing spots. Now, the spotlight's on Tomislav Avicic, right? The 7-footer's a draft prospect after burying 9 threes in 2 NCAA tournament games. But the Illini camps are optimistic that he'll return. But they were also optimistic that Johnson would return too. So, I mean, be mad at me if you feel a little skeptical, but I am, especially since they've reached out to Christoph Tilley, who seems more like of an insurance piece for if Avicic leaves rather than if Johnson left. If you're just looking strictly on the on-court, Avicic's skill set, the shooting, the passing, the size, makes him a unicorn, right? He's irreplaceable. Johnson's game is replaceable, though, with the right portal find. Avicic, he isn't. If he stays paired with Kylan Boswell, that's a solid core. You like that. Illinois isn't falling off. You like that core. But here's my worry. At this point, no one leaving Illinois would surprise me. That sucks to say about a program with this much potential and a program that I like watching their basketball team play. And off the court, Johnson would have been a huge culture piece for this team as well. I know some people act like this stuff, like culture and those things, like the locker room, it doesn't matter, but it does. It matters a lot more than some people want to admit. Look, Illinois isn't doomed. They're not falling off. Asking that question earlier, no, they're not falling off. They've got 2 4-star commits in Keaton Wagler, and Brandon Lee, and Orlando Antigua's a wizard in the portal, and it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work out there, they'll go overseas and find one of those guys there. Last time he led a big hunt, they landed Avicic. He's already chasing front court replacements, and I'd bet they target an athletic, physical big to mimic Johnson's rebounding, because like I said, it's something you can find, plus maybe some rim protection as well, who can switch defensively. Ty Rodgers is also a wild card here. He redshirted this year, but with Johnson and White gone, his rebounding and physicality fit is better now than it ever has been before. If I'm on staff, maybe not desperately, but I really, really want to bring him back. It makes sense for both sides. Still, this feels like a program spinning its wheels because this isn't the only time this has happened. Illinois has been a revolving door. Let's look back for a second, right? Adam Miller bolted in 2021 after starting every game for a 1 seed. Alan Griffin left in 2020. Coleman Hawkins, a little bit of a different story, but still finished his career at Kansas State. Luke Goody to Indiana. Sky Clark lasted 13 games. Last year, they turned over most of the roster and still won 22 games, but you couldn't think what could have been the ceiling if they kept some of those guys that left. The portal's given them stars like Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Domask and Avicic, right? Portal, freshman, whatever you want to call it. But it's also taken away some stability. Some call it culture problems. Others blame it on Underwood's in-game adjustments or his son Tyler on staff. I've even heard some Illinois fans basically call them the Iowa football of Big Ten basketball. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think it's that bad, but I can get the frustration. I can understand it. I don't think Underwood's a bad coach. He revived a program that was a shell of itself pre-2017. Their offense was top 15 in efficiency this year, top 5 last year, but the defensive struggles are big. There are assistants that have been leaving. The retention's a mess. Fans are splitting. Some defend Brad Underwood, saying he's riding. Some defend Brad Underwood. Others are saying he's just riding talent to success. Others want him gone, claiming he's just a recruiter, not a tactician. Me, I'm torn. Illinois should be a Sweet 16 standard. They've got the resources, the fan base, the recruiting pool, but the attrition, it's hard to build that consistency when you're resetting year in and year out. So are they falling off? No. No, at least not yet. They're teetering at the very least, right? At the very worst, they're teetering. If Vicic and Boswell stay and they hit the portal hard, they can rebound, pun intended, but another full overhaul risks stalling their momentum. I want Illinois to succeed. I really do. They're too good of a program to be unstable. As a Big Ten fan, I'd rather see them thriving than floundering. What do you think? Are the Illini in trouble to you, or is it just another portal noise? Drop your takes, your comments. I'm reading them all.